Friday night dinners at my parents' house have always been this weird blend of comfort and tension, you know? Like, the food's great. Mom still makes that crispy fried cod that smells like my childhood summers. But there's always that one moment when something just shifts. And this time, it hit like a freight train. Mom was leaning over the table, reaching for a bottle of Pinot, the one she saves for family occasions, when she said it, like she was talking about the weather. Mia's getting married. To Jack. And just like that, I swear, I couldn't breathe. My mouth was full of rice, but it may as well have been gravel. Jack. My Jack. I hadn't seen him in a year. Not since we took space or whatever you want to call that awkward fade out that never really had an ending. But still, there he was, back in my life without warning, without choice, and now tied to my sister like some cruel twist from a bad soap opera. Mom just kept talking, folding her napkin with that same soft smile she always wears when she's trying to pretend nothing's wrong. But something was very wrong. Turns out they've been seeing each other for over 6 months. 6 whole months. And not one word from anyone. Not from Mom, who calls me every Tuesday morning to ask if I'm eating enough. Not from Dad, who barely looked up from his paper tonight, but nodded like this was all perfectly fine. And definitely not from Mia, who sat right across from me, pushing salad leaves around her plate like they were suddenly too complicated to deal with. Apparently, they all thought I'd moved on, that I was past it, that it wouldn't hurt. And maybe in their world, that made sense. Because in our family, we don't do drama. We don't do mess. Dad's a judge, literally, a superior court judge here in Portland. And Mom? She's the queen of appearances. According to them, family always comes first. And whatever I might feel about my ex dating my sister, well, I'm supposed to rise above it, be the bigger person, be the older sister who smiles and supports. Mia still hadn't said a word. She didn't need to. But when I glanced at her wrist, something caught my eye. Something so small but so loud I almost laughed. A thin gold bracelet. Not just any bracelet. The one Jack gave me, back when Powell's Jewelry still sold that limited vintage line. I remember because we picked it out together, and he said it matched the light in my eyes. I know, gross, right? But it mattered then. Now it just burned. Then Dad finally spoke. He looked up from his plate and asked, just like he was checking if I'd be around for brunch, "Will you come to the engagement party? It's this Sunday at Ringside Grill." And what did I say? I nodded. Like an idiot. Not because I wanted to be there. God, no. But because I honestly didn't know how to say no. I mean, how do you refuse your whole family when they've already decided how you should feel? Dessert came. Mom brought out those ridiculous old photo prints of some rustic farm out in Washington County. The wedding venue. She was practically glowing, saying they've already picked it, that the dress was almost done. Like it was all just set in stone. Like my silence was consent. When dinner finally ended, I practically ran for the door. I was halfway to my car when Mia followed me. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just stood there, barely above a whisper, and said, "I didn't mean for it to happen like this. It just did." And I had nothing. Not a word. I just stood there, keys in hand, wondering when exactly my life stopped being mine. I sat in the car for a while after that, not starting it, just letting the cold leather sink in while my head tried to catch up. Were they already together when Jack and I were still trying to fix things? When we were still holding on? I didn't know. I didn't even know if I wanted to know. The drive home felt surreal. 82nd Avenue was almost empty, the streetlights flickering like they were in on the joke. Florence plus the Machine came on the radio. Some old track from the time Jack and I would drive around aimlessly just to be together. And yeah, I let it play. By the time I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. Just sat on the couch with my coat still on, and at some point I pulled out this old flash drive I hadn't touched in forever. It had our trips on it. The beach, the mountains, that cabin we rented for my birthday. I watched them all one by one, like a punch to the chest I couldn't stop. And yeah, I cried. But not because of them, not because of the betrayal exactly. It was more like something inside me cracked for good. Like I'd been holding this image of how things were supposed to be, And now, staring at it, I realized it was just that. An image, nothing real. Not anymore. Sundays are weird now. They used to be my reset days, slow coffee mornings, maybe a walk in Forest Park if the weather was decent, and just enough time to feel like I had control over something before the week swallowed me up again. But this Sunday, I found myself standing in front of Ringside Grill, 6:55 p.m., wearing the only clean thing I had left. Tight jeans and a white blouse that I hadn't ironed because, honestly, who cares? And already regretting saying yes. I knew it wasn't the right look for an engagement party, especially one my mom basically curated from a Pinterest board, but it's not like I was trying to impress anyone. Jack was waiting near the door, and the way he smiled at me, polite, effortless, like we were old high school friends running into each other at a reunion, it just hit me all over again. He's not mine. Not anymore. And honestly, the way he carried himself, I don't think he ever really was. Inside, everything was just nice. Too nice. You know those places where the lighting is dim enough to feel expensive, but not so dark that you can't Instagram your food? That was this place. Willamette Valley wine flowing like water, little candles flickering on every table, and a playlist of soft jazz that made everything feel more delicate than it deserved. I walked in behind Jack, keeping a bit of distance, just enough so no one would think we arrived together. God forbid. Mia was already there, of course, in some flowy dress that probably cost more than my rent. And the moment she saw me, she lit up like this was the best thing ever. And then, in front of everyone, she kissed him on the cheek. That quick, possessive kind of kiss, like staking a claim. I froze. It wasn't the kiss exactly, but the way she did it. Like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Like it was just normal now. And I realized that was mine. That used to be mine. Mom and Dad were busy working the room, greeting people like we were hosting some kind of political fundraiser, not a family dinner. Mom had this glass of red in her hand, already half finished, laughing too loud with one of her book club friends. And Dad? He was in full judge mode, shaking hands, nodding like he was in court. I stood there, by the wall, near a giant plant that smelled vaguely of lemon, and tried to disappear into the furniture. Where do you even put yourself in a situation like this? To real love, she said. To finding someone who makes you better, who brings out the best in you. We're so proud of Mia and Jack. And while she was saying all of this, I looked up for just a second and caught Jack looking at me. Just a glance, but too familiar, like we were sharing some unspoken joke, except I wasn't laughing. Why was he even looking at me like that? Does he still? Number I can't go there. Tante Carol found me after the toast. Because of course she did. And she leaned in with that too sweet voice of hers. Still single, huh? You know, Mia really figured it out. Maybe it's time you did too. I nodded and smiled. Because that's what you do, right? You play nice. You don't scream in the middle of a restaurant, even when you really want to. Then came dessert, and something shifted. Mia pulled out her phone, whispered something to Jack, and showed him whatever was on the screen. His face changed. Not much, but enough that I noticed. He frowned like she'd just reminded him of something he didn't want to deal with right now. They didn't argue, at least not openly. But it was there, in the air between them, like static. Maybe things weren't as perfect as they looked. Later, after everyone was hugging goodbye and planning brunches they'd never actually go to, I stepped outside for some air. I wasn't trying to escape, not really, but I needed a minute. Jack followed me. Of course he did. Mia was still inside, probably showing off her ring to someone, and there he was, standing next to me like none of this was insane. Are you okay? He asked quietly, like we were still whatever we used to be. I said yes, because saying no would have opened a door I wasn't ready to walk through. And he just stood there, hands fidgeting the way they used to when he couldn't figure out what to say. Thumb rubbing his index finger over and over, like it would somehow help. I walked home. Through the city, across the Morrison Bridge, just letting the cool air bite at me, soaking it in. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel cold. I felt blank. Like someone had wiped the slate clean and left me there to figure out what to write next. Monday mornings are supposed to be slow, right? Like, maybe a second cup of coffee, maybe a lazy scroll through emails I'm definitely not ready to answer yet, but no, not today. Today, I wake up to Mom's name lighting up my phone at 8:12 a.m., and of course, I pick up because if I don't, she'll just keep calling. It's just for an hour, she says. Like that's a reasonable ask. I need you to help us pick fabric for Mia's dress. You're the creative one, remember? You always had such good taste. And before I can even think of a polite way to say absolutely not, she's already telling me what time to be ready. So, by 10:30, I'm in the passenger seat of Mom's car, wondering how the hell I let this happen. Again. We pull up to Linda's studio on Nob Hill, and the moment I walk in, I can feel the air shift. Linda, bless her overly enthusiastic heart, comes rushing over like we're old friends. Her hands outstretched, her voice just a little too loud for a Monday. Oh my God, it's been ages. I was wondering when you'd come back. And for a split second, I forget. I forget why I'm here, and I smile. Stupid reflex. But then she adds, You still thinking about that silk blend you loved? I've got it in again. And just like that, I'm back. Back to that version of me who stood here almost exactly a year ago, dreaming about a dress I never wore, for a wedding that never happened. And Mia? She's already at the mirror, flipping through swatches like this is just another fun day of playing bride. She doesn't even flinch. We spend the next hour, okay, more like 2, going through every possible shade of white you can imagine. Ivory, pearl, ecru, champagne. Honestly, at some point, they all start to look the same. Like, does it really matter? They're all just different versions of something that's not mine. Mia holds up this one fabric, this soft, almost golden lace, and Mom gasps like she's found the Holy Grail. It's perfect, she says, eyes shining, already picturing the whole thing. Don't you think? And I just nod, because what else am I supposed to do? Say it looks like every other overpriced fabric in this place? Linda's watching me too now, and suddenly she says, Jack would love this. Remember how he always liked warm tones? Like it's some casual thing to bring up. Like it's fine. Mia doesn't even blink. She just keeps her eyes on the fabric, like she didn't hear. Like we're not standing in the middle of a memory that doesn't belong to her. And I'm just standing there, feeling like I'm the one who's lost the plot. Then, because the universe loves a good twist, Mom decides now is the time for her wise advice. As if she's waited for the right moment to drop it, like a truth bomb wrapped in silk. You're not mad at Mia, are you? Love doesn't really give you a choice, sweetheart. It just happens. I swear, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous I didn't know what else to do. Love just happens? Is that what we're calling betrayal now? Somehow I survived the appointment without completely losing it. And just when I think I can escape, Mia asks if I want to grab a coffee. Heart Roasters is just around the corner, she says, like this is normal. Like we're normal. And against every sane part of me, I say yes. Because, and I don't even know why, I need to hear it from her. I need to understand. We sit by the window, and the place smells like roasted beans and something sweet. And for a minute, it's quiet. Then she starts talking. She tells me it wasn't planned, that she ran into Jack at Safeway, of all places, just after he and I split. If you can call that mess a clean break. She says she just wanted to check on him, to see how he was doing. Because you were still talking about him all the time. And yeah, maybe I was. But that didn't mean I wanted her to do something about it. He looked so lost, she says, stirring her coffee like it's going to tell her what to say next. And I didn't mean for it to get serious, but it just did. And I'm sitting there trying to hold it together, trying to not make a scene, but I can't help it. I ask her straight up, Did you love him? Before? When we were still together? She looks out the window, watching people pass by like they're in some other world where none of this matters. And then she says, barely above a whisper, I don't know. And that's it. That's all she gives me. I don't even remember driving home. The streets all look the same, gray and wet and empty. Like the city didn't care what I just heard. I walked into my apartment, dropped my keys on the counter, and stood there for what felt like forever. Nothing changed. Nothing at all. Except now, I wasn't even angry. I was just tired. So damn tired. Update. It's been a week since that day at the coffee shop with Mia, which honestly feels like a month or longer, but it's only been 7 days. 7 days where I've been doing everything I can to not think about them, to not go over every word she said, every look, every moment that still sticks like gum to the bottom of my brain. I've been avoiding places where I might see her, or worse, him, taking different streets, going to a different grocery store. The little one on 28 that's way overpriced but feels safer somehow. I've been good, I swear. I almost started believing I was past it. And then it came. I got home Friday afternoon, the kind of day that's cold but sunny, typical Portland spring, and found this envelope in my mailbox. You know that feeling when you see something before your brain can process it, but your body already knows? That was me. It was white, thick, expensive looking, with this gold embossed edge like it was trying too hard, and my name written out in this overly neat cursive that could only be Mom. I should have just left it there. I should have walked right back out and tossed it in the trash next to the junk mail and pizza coupons, but I didn't. I took it inside, sat down at my kitchen table, and opened it. It was exactly what I thought. An invitation. With love, Mia and Jack. It was real. Not just something people whispered about or I tried to ignore. It was happening. A date, a place. The whole damn thing spelled out in gold letters like it was supposed to be beautiful. I wanted to rip it up. I wanted to burn it or at least throw it somewhere far from me. But I didn't. I left it there, right on the table, because somehow it felt like I needed to look at it, to remind myself that this wasn't a nightmare I could wake up from. That night, while I was trying, and failing, to not stare at the stupid envelope, I got an email. From Jack. Short, just one line. I need to talk to you before the wedding. And tell me, what was I supposed to do with that? I didn't answer. Not right away. I spent the whole night lying awake, thinking about how he always used to text when he couldn't say something out loud. How he'd send me these late-night messages when he was too scared to pick up the phone. And now here we are again. Full circle. Except this time, I'm not sure if I even want to hear it. The next morning, I said yes. We met in Washington Park, because of course we did. That place was ours, or at least it used to be. There's this bench near the Rose Garden where we'd sit sometimes, back when things were good, or as good as they could be. And he picked that spot like it still meant something. He was already there when I arrived, sitting like he didn't know if he should have come. Like maybe he was hoping I wouldn't show up. For a second, neither of us said anything. Just the sound of birds and kids in the distance and that weird stillness parks have when you're in the middle of something you can't undo. Finally, he spoke. I can't do it. At first, I didn't even know what he meant, but then he kept going. This wedding, this life, it doesn't feel like mine. I don't know how I got here, but it's not right. It's not me. He looked like hell, honestly. Tired, messy in that way he gets when he's been overthinking everything. And I just stood there, not sure whether to be angry or relieved or just done. I asked him, "Do you love her?" And he didn't answer. Just stared at his hands like they'd somehow explain it for him. Then he said it. The thing I wasn't sure I wanted to hear. That night, the night we fought, when you told me to leave, I went to her place. I thought we were done. I thought it was over. So there it was. Not fate, not some random twist of timing. A choice. He chose her. She chose him. And I was just left to figure out where that leaves me. I stood there for what felt like forever. And it hit me. No matter what he says now, no matter what he thinks he feels or doesn't feel, it already happened. They already happened. And now, it's on me. Do I forgive him? Forgive her? Try to pretend any of this can go back to how it was? After I left Jack in the park, I didn't go home right away. I just walked. Nowhere specific, just through the streets I thought I knew, but suddenly everything felt different. You ever get that feeling? Like the city shifts a little when something inside you breaks? That's what it felt like. Like Portland was still here, still buzzing with life, but I wasn't quite part of it anymore. By the time I got back to my apartment, the sky had already started to darken, and instead of sitting in silence with all of it, with them, I grabbed my phone and called Kelly. I hadn't talked to her in weeks. Not really. Just a few texts here and there where I pretended everything was fine or busy or whatever. Life felt easiest. But I needed to hear her voice. I needed someone who didn't know them like that, who didn't care about keeping things polite. "Let's go out," she said. No hesitation. Not how are you? Not what happened. Just that. We met at the By and By, one of those places that's always just loud enough to feel like a distraction, but quiet enough that you can still hear yourself think. We sat in the back, near the window, and I ordered a glass of red like it was muscle memory. Kelly didn't push. She waited, letting me sit there for a few minutes, just staring at the table until I finally opened my mouth. And then it all came out. Everything. From the dinner at my parents' house to the fabric store to that stupid invitation to the park. I told her everything, every ugly, complicated piece of it. And when I finished, when there was nothing left to spill, she just sat back, looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time in months, and said, "You know this is insane, right? Like, you don't have to keep playing along with it just because they're family." And I swear, I almost cried. Not because it hurt, but because it was the first time someone said it. Like, really said it out loud. That I didn't owe them forgiveness. That I wasn't the bad guy for not being okay. We stayed there for hours, just talking about nothing after that. Work, random gossip, how bad the traffic's been lately. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was drowning. It was like coming up for air. Just a little. When I got home, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch, lights off, just listening to the hum of the city outside my window. And then I did something I didn't think I would. I grabbed my phone and texted Mia, "We need to talk." Nothing dramatic, nothing emotional, just that. She answered almost right away. "Come over." So I did. Her apartment on Sandy Boulevard was too clean, like she'd just had someone over, or she was expecting company. The smell of her perfume hit me the second she opened the door. That floral one she's worn since college, the one that used to linger on my sweaters when we'd borrow each other's clothes. And now, here it was, mixed with the scent of new furniture, pieces I didn't recognize, ones I knew she picked out with Jack. We sat in her living room, not speaking for a minute, and then I told her. I told her what Jack said, about not wanting the wedding, about not feeling like this was his life. And I told her I knew. About that night. The night everything started. She didn't try to deny it. She didn't make excuses. She just broke. Right there, in front of me, Mia, my sister, who always kept it together, who always smiled through everything, started to cry. Not those quiet movie tears either. Real ones. Messy, loud, painful. "I didn't mean to take him," she said between sobs. I didn't want to be second anymore." And what do you say to that? What do you say when your own sister tells you she stepped into your life because she was tired of standing behind you? I asked her, "What now?" She wiped her face, looked at me, and said, "The wedding's happening. It has to. Everyone's expecting it." Not because she wanted it, not because he did, but because it was too late to back out. Because the machine was already in motion, and stopping it would mean admitting it was all a mistake. I left her place without saying much else. There wasn't anything left to say. Walking back through the city, it felt lighter. Not because things were better, but because I knew. I finally knew where I stood. This wasn't my burden anymore. When I got home, I pulled out that old flash drive, the one with all the photos and videos, all the pieces of a life that doesn't exist now. And I deleted it. Every file, every memory, gone. And for the first time, I didn't feel sorry. I woke up late today. No alarms, no missed calls, no texts buzzing on my nightstand. Just sunlight coming through the half-open blinds and this weird stillness in the air, like the world forgot about me for a second. And honestly, I didn't mind. For the first time in weeks, no one needed anything from me. No questions, no invitations, no guilt. Just quiet. It took me a while to get out of bed. Not because I was tired, but because I didn't really know what I was supposed to do with today. Their wedding day. It was happening right now, or maybe later. I didn't even bother to check. I didn't want to know the time, Didn't want to picture the dress, the vows, the smiles that would follow. I just wanted today to be mine, even if I didn't know what that meant yet. I threw on jeans and a soft t-shirt I hadn't worn in months. Something easy. Something that didn't remind me of anything. Stepping outside, the air was warmer than I expected. That soft kind of warm that lets you know spring is finally winning. I started walking, no destination in mind, just letting my feet take me wherever. Broadway was already alive, people rushing around like always, cars honking, someone playing guitar outside a coffee shop. And then, halfway down the block, I realized something. I wasn't wearing the bracelet. You know, the one Jack gave me ages ago, back when he said it looked just like me, whatever that meant. I used to wear it like a habit, like it was part of me, even after everything, even when I should have taken it off for good. But today, I forgot it. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe somewhere deep down I knew I didn't need it anymore. I ended up at this little coffee place I like. Nothing fancy, just quiet. The guy behind the counter knows me by now. Not well, but enough to remember I take my latte with oat milk, no syrup. He smiled, nodded, and made it without asking. Slid it across the counter like a small gift I didn't realize I needed. And something about that small, simple kindness, made me pause. Maybe it's not just them. Maybe there's still more out there. More people, more moments, more life. When I got home, there was a message from Mom. Just one line. "It's a shame you weren't there, but we understand." And I believed her. For once, I believed she meant it. No pressure, no disappointment, just acceptance. Or at least something close enough. Mia didn't write. I didn't expect her to. We've said everything that needed to be said, and now there's just this space between us. Not angry, not cold, just empty, and I'm okay with that. Some things don't need to be filled back up. Later, I checked my phone again. Not because I wanted to. Just a habit. There was a message from Jack. 2 words. I left. That's it. No explanation, no apology, just I left. And honestly, that's all I needed. I spent the rest of the day cleaning. Not in that frantic, gotta fix everything way, but in this calm, deliberate way. Like I was finally making room for something new. I opened windows, let fresh air in, went through drawers I hadn't touched in forever, threw out old receipts, pictures, little bits of nothing that somehow took up too much space. On my desk, there was this card from Kelly I'd forgotten about, left over from that night we met up. Just 5 words, written in her messy handwriting. Life moves on, just differently. She's right. I sat down and opened my laptop, something I hadn't done for anything real in months, and pulled up this design project I'd abandoned last year. Some gallery downtown, something I was excited about once. And you know what? It still felt like me. Maybe not the old me, but the one who's still here, still figuring it out. Later, I went for another walk, this time without purpose, just to see what the city looked like now. Portland wasn't different, not really, but it didn't feel so heavy anymore. The streets, the lights, the faces I passed, they didn't remind me of them, not like before. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't looking back. I was just here. Now.